It's Thursday, the dreaded Thursday for Bitcoin boolas over the past year and a half now, actually, as this has been, traditionally speaking, the day that is most likely, not always, but most likely to see some dump-ola parties. So I want to go over actually traditional markets today because things are still more or less sideways in Bitcoin, and then we'll go over a little bit of Bitcoin action as well. And other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Wednesday or Thursday or whatever the fuck day, doesn't matter, as we just get right onto this price action analysis. So traditional markets, we did put out an analysis on this. When was this? About 2 Mondays ago. It was a much more long-term focused analysis, which did suggest that we very likely have already seen the lows in August. Maybe there's one more drive lower here in September, but ultimately, long-term, the picture is indeed set. Anyways, in this case, I did want to present a bit more of a nuanced view relative to the short term. So not talking about the next year of price action, but talking about the next, probably month or two of price action. And in this case, we have seen a nice rejection and a nice reversal right around that 45-50-ish region right here. I do believe that we did outline that last time that we did speak about it. And in this case, actually, I'll even just mark this off just so that we can have it right there, nice and visible on the charts. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be calling this a herp and derp in the making, with your left shoulder right here, head right here, and your presumed right shoulder right here. Yeah, that's very much within the cards, actually. And obviously your neckline would be coming in just above actually that last major gap that we did see in June, of course, which would be at about 43.60-ish region, let's say. So technically speaking, that is something to be aware of, meaning that if we do start to see, I almost said Bitcoin, but SPY close below that 43.60-ish region, yeah, very likely correction all the way down, I suspect, to that white moving average. It's a 200 simple in this case, generally speaking, relevant on the, on a time frame like this. Of course, again, do keep in mind that the gap coming in at 4,300 would very likely be a bounce region if it does get down there to begin with. So that's a big if for me as of right now, as we'll go over soon. But as it enters into this corrective phase, I did want to outline this. And technically speaking, there would be an implied target based off of the herp and derp here, and where would it be pointed down towards? Yeah, a little bit below that 200 simple. So, worst case scenario, maybe we see a move back down about 4130-ish region, but somewhere in this pocket right here would probably make sense, if I suspect, if this one does confirm that as a bearish, break. Again, needs to close below this region right here. Until then, short term, yes, I think that it does continue to correct more, very likely coming back down somewhere around these lows. The real question is does it break those lows? And then we, on the other side, we have a very clear and concise means of defining continuation. And in this case, anywhere above, what was this last Friday's high, which was 45.75 and 3/4. Then yes, I'd be looking for this one to not just retest the yearly highs, but very likely make new highs on this rally and probably go for the prior all-time highs, if I had to guess. As anytime that we do have a herp and derp, or the old clock and balls, or a head and shoulders in this case, there is a failure implied move as well. And it's actually just as simple as looking at that downside implied move, but just applying it to the right shoulder. So if I almost said Bitcoin again, but if SPY trades back above that right-hand shoulder, then technically speaking, there would be an implied target around 4,800, a little bit above 4,800, which would be basically all-time highs. Yeah, that would be, basically all-time highs. And at that point, just have to look for general continuation. So in the interim, however, I'm still getting more signals that this correction, continues longer, let's say. In this case, we do see that daily RSI still in a corrective region in the neutral zone, as it did get rejected just from getting into the bullish control zone in the last couple weeks. So I would be looking for this kind of base off in this region a little bit longer. I don't necessarily look at that as like super bearish or anything like that, but I do look at it as more corrective. Anyways, going over here to the weekly, is there anything that I want to speak about? Less so in this case. But now we can go over to a relatively higher term time frame. So remember that when September began, we did close, or not we, but charts did close the last 4-month dildo. And in this case, we do see that there are 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish evidence come off the last few major macro lows here, beginning in September of 2015, connected with the lows over here in 2019, or I should say 2018, 2019, and then presumably yet again over here in, coming off of this last major low. So ultimately, long term, I still would be looking at this one as, if it does pull back a little bit, very likely we do see this one try higher. Maybe not this next 4-month spread, but perhaps Q1 of 2024. So that is kind of the big question that I'm mulling over in my brain right now. You know, what's more likely? Do we pull back for like a month or two and then try to the upside? Or does it spend the rest of the year just kind of, you know, consolidating and getting ready for a nice move to the upside in Q1 of 2024? I'm a little bit more leaning towards that. But in this case, we can see that long term, yeah, still up is a desired direction, I suspect. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to go over here, just kind of check out where some of the major numbers come in around. We do see, yeah, what do you know? We do see several of these fibs aligning with those presumed targets if it were to break to the downside. Areas of interest, first and foremost, would be the 382 fib right here at 4,300. Actually, I really like that area, just for what it's worth. If it were to come back, you know, if it were to come down there for a second and then pop back up, that would be a really good sign that that this one's going to retest the highs a lot sooner rather than later, probably before end of year if that happened in the next month. And then of course you got the 50% retracement here at 4,200, and then the area that we spoke about earlier, which is also in alignment with the 2-week 55 and the 618 fib right here at around, you know, 4150-ish region. So those would be the major areas of interest to the downside. Now, if this one is going to go into a corrective phase, what does that mean for Bitcoin? You know, probably does something relatively similar as well. Again, it is the dreaded Thursday today, and Thursday, you know, is the most likely day to see dumpers. Anyways, still on the SPY tip over here, we do see that daily is getting a downside signal on the daily stochastic momentum, actually even supported by DMI in this case as well. It looks like, oops, sorry, some early beef coming out of the nostrils right there. And then, of course, will remain with downside momentum as long as SPY is closing below 45.30, which right now is trading significantly below. So again, that's why I do say in the more near term, this one is more likely to correct for a while. Going over the 2-day time frame, also looking a little bit weak here. We'll turn back down below about 44.25, and then of course the weekly is showing heavy downside momentum below 45.80. So you know, I do believe that for the majority of the month of September, at best it's going to be sideways, and probably more than likely we do see sideways and down. If I had to put a a bit more of a detailed analysis on it. But ultimately, I do want to keep with my long-term analysis here that the next downside move is very likely an opportunity. And just like with all of the downside moves that we've seen basically over the last like year or two now, well, I guess the more relative ones to this conversation would be since October 2022. All of these downside moves were met with just the most catastrophic of headlines and the catastrophic of sentiments within this market. So, generally speaking, it would be good to get that sort of thing back into the market as far as sentiment goes, in order to, start to look at that as another major opportunity. So how far down do things get before that happens? Again, these would be my major areas of interest to the downside. Anyways, going over here into Bitcoin now, we can go check out the 4-hour HPDR range. What do you know? Unchanged yet again. Still the bottom side coming in around about, actually a little bit lower, a smidge lower at 25,150. Top side of the current range coming in at 26,500. Anything betwixt there is just irrelevant, really. Of course, if Bitcoin does break below about 25,150 on a closing basis, at that point, looks like we're going to see very likely another $1,000 slide or so to the upside. I do think that upside would be very much limited. I do not think that Bitcoin will see above 27,000 bucks. Best case scenario this month of September. I still think kind of the most reasonable best case scenario for Bitcoin in September is sideways from open to close. Anyways, should we go check out the daily as well? I don't know if this is going to necessarily help all that much, but bottom side of the current, the bottom side of the current daily range lows coming in around about 24,200. So very similar to what we did see on the next range down for the 4 hours. So Bitcoin does take a slide here again on a Thursday. That would be a good area of interest, assuming that it does break the current lows. Going through stochastic momentum on Bitcoin, I do want to highlight one major thing for today. The 5-day time frame is going to be closing, and the 5-day time frame has been a big focal point of our analysis for quite some time now. Let me actually just put this in right here, and we will see that the 5-day time frame will have a chance to officially hit this trendline regression that Bitcoin has been bouncing off of ever since January of 2022. For some pretty significant bounces, I should add. This bounce starting to over here. Let me just mark it off. This bounce starting over here. This bounce starting over here, a little bit of a less impressive one. The lows thus far, and then this one over here that we saw more recently. So it will officially hit that on tonight's closure. I mean, I think that is, yeah, it is inevitable here. The current pivot for downside momentum is 29,600. And again, that is driving our Bitcoin or a big portion that is driving our Bitcoin analysis, saying that, hey, if Bitcoin's going to see downside, it very likely happens between now and about the 15th, so next Friday. And again, particular attention to, you know, today, Thursday, and next Thursday. Next Thursday will be what, the 13th? Let me just double check. No, it'll be the 14th actually, because I am redacted and don't know how to do math. But but more importantly, you know, I really want to see where this pivot comes in upon tonight's closure. If this one comes down significantly, let's say, you know, closer to 26,000 bucks. Okay, Bitcoin Bula is going to start to have a bit of a chance coming after about the 15th of September. But until then, risk remains to the downside. And if this number especially goes up or doesn't come down that much on the next closure, very likely we're going to see a, you know, a genuine downside move, I'd say. Let's see. I'm not sure how much it matters for the other time frames because things are just so damn dull and boring here. But 2-day time frame, which is also going to be closing tonight, will turn up above basically 26,000, which seems very far away now because Bitcoin barely moves. Daily time frame will turn up above 25,850. 12-hour time frame will turn up actually above 25.5. 6-hour time frame is going to also be up above 25.6. Okay, things looking a little bit better in the short term. 4-hour time frame also up above 25.6, and hourly is going to be showing actually up above 25.745, which it is literally trading almost exactly at as of right now. So, you know, we do see a lot of the lower term time frames actually in concert with each other. Just as far as price action goes, this one does look like it wants to come back down and at least test, you know, somewhere around the current lows. But, you know, I don't really trust these metrics right now when things have been sideways like this. You know, oscillators just not going to, they're just not going to give you much information. Honestly, they don't operate as you would typically expect them to. So I think that's a good place for me to be signing off on a nice video like this. Again, big focus on SPY, what it kind of does from here, especially coming into Thursday. You know, I do expect this one to correct more. The question is, does it break the current lows that we saw in August or not? Going back to the analysis from 2 weeks ago, it would imply that breaking the August lows is more on the unlikely side. We have seen in the past where it does make the new low in September, but longer term, the main analysis is that, well, we have seen new all-time highs within about a year of that signature that we did witness in August. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. Yeah, just repeating myself right there. As always, I should let you know that you can still get the Jewelite for free if you follow the directions in the link in the description below. It's been a long time since I've even spoken about it. And then, yeah, I think I'll leave things off right there. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Friday.